I'm on a whole new
Hello, and today I'm going to talk to you about controls and variables. As we know, the steps of the scientific method are as following. You choose a question or a problem. You research them using your 5 senses. You develop a hypothesis. You write out your procedures. You experiment to test your hypothesis. You organize your data and state your conclusion. Now, those are the steps of the scientific method, but there are more specific things that we need to look into when we're planning an experiment. Today, we are going to talk about the 3 main parts of a good experiment. I'll give you a hint. It's not blowing up our classroom. So these are things to consider as we go through the presentation. What does it mean for something to vary? Think about this. What does the word dependent mean? Think about that. Now, imagine you are creating an experiment to test your hypothesis that tomatoes grow better with fertilizer. Think of some steps that you would take as you're preparing for this experiment. All right, now let's think about this. Let's say that Brad has a pimple. He wonders what will get rid of it. He's heard that putting toothpaste on the zit will get rid of it. He's also heard that lemon juice and toothpaste will help get rid of it. The next morning, his pimple is gone. But which thing cured him? The toothpaste or the lemon juice? Now, I want you to think about this, and I kind of wonder how many of you think it was the toothpaste? Raise your hand. Now, if you think it was the lemon juice, go ahead and raise your hand. Well, honestly, the truth is that there's actually no way for you to know for sure because this is a bad experiment. In order to plan a good experiment, it must have 3 important things. They are the independent variable, the dependent variable, and the control variable. So I ask, what are these? Well, let's look at the root word of variable. A variable is described as anything in an experiment that can change, with the key word being change. Now let's break the word variable down. When you break it down, there's able, which means able to, and then you have vary, which refers to change. So therefore, a variable is a factor that can change in an experiment, and every experiment has 2. One is the cause, and the other, the effect. Well, let's think about cause and effect. First things first, does crushing a sugar cube affect the rate at which sugar dissolves in the water? Now, in order to understand cause and effect relationships, one precedes the other. So we have to think about what is the cause and what is the effect in this scenario. So, crushing the sugar cube will affect how long it takes to dissolve. Crushing the sugar cube is what we predict will be the cause. And the time it takes to dissolve is what we will see the effect on. The prediction would be called the independent variable. And the other one would be called the dependent variable. So once again, a variable is anything in an experiment that can change. Now, an independent variable is what you can manipulate or cause to change an experiment. The key word in the independent variable is cause to change. Now let's talk more about this independent variable. They are what you actually manipulate to test your hypothesis. There should only be one in an experiment. Let's try learning through an example. In this story, Larry was told that a certain muscle cream was the newest best thing on the market and claims to double a person's muscle power when used as part of a muscle building workout. Interested in this product, he buys the special muscle cream and recruits Patrick and SpongeBob to help him with an experiment. Larry develops a special marshmallow weightlifting program for Patrick and SpongeBob. He meets with them once every day for a period of 2 weeks and keeps track of their results. Before each session, Patrick's arms and back are lathered in muscle cream, while SpongeBob's arms and back are lathered with the regular lotion. Now, the question is, what would be the independent variable? Here, Larry is wondering how different lotions will affect how much SpongeBob and Patrick can actually lift. He changes, aka manipulates, the type of lotion that each person gets. Therefore, in this case, the independent variable in the following example would be the lotion that he puts on. Now let's look at another definition. What is the dependent variable? Well, the dependent variable is what happens in an experiment because of the independent variable. It relies solely on what your independent variable has. So let's look at it. Dependent variables, they happen because of your independent variable. It's how you determine if your hypothesis was true or not. So let's look at the example again. Here we're talking about Larry again. He was told that a certain muscle cream was the newest best thing on the market and claims to double a person's muscle power when used as part of a muscle building workout. Interested in this product, he buys the special muscle cream and recruits Patrick and SpongeBob to help him with an experiment. Larry develops a special marshmallow weightlifting program for Patrick and SpongeBob. He meets with them once every day for a period of 2 weeks and keeps track of their results. Before each session, Patrick's arms and back are lathered in muscle cream, while SpongeBob's arm and back are lathered with regular lotion. Now, as we mentioned, the independent variable refers to the lotion, which is the cause. The effect of this, or dependent variable in this case, would be the number of marshmallows that can be lifted. Because Larry is looking to see if the cream has an effect on the ability to lift. So therefore, again, the dependent variable would refer to the number of marshmallows that can be lifted. The number of marshmallows each one can lift depends on the type of lotion they got. The lotion they got being the independent variable. So, we talked about variable, which is anything in an experiment that can change. We talked about independent variable, which is what you can manipulate or change on purpose in an experiment. The dependent variable, which is what happens in an experiment because of the independent variable. Now let's talk about the control. Now the control is what you keep the same, so it doesn't interfere with your independent variable. You use this in an experiment to compare to what you do change. The control is specifically used to compare. In an experiment, you should always have something that you don't change so that you can compare what you do change. When Stephanie conducted her experiment, she told half the class to not do their homework while the other half of the class remained the same. They did their homework. Then she compared the scores of those who didn't do their homework to those that did. Now let's revisit the example of Larry. Again, we're talking about the muscle cream, We've established that the lotion is the independent variable, the amount of marshmallows that he can lift being the dependent variable. So now what do we think is our control? Well, in this experiment, what Larry used to compare to the muscle cream was the regular lotion. In this case, he used a variable that he did not expect to cause any change. Using regular lotion would not make muscles. So therefore, he tested regular lotion against the muscle cream. Larry could have also not put any cream on SpongeBob to see if the cream that he put on Patrick deferred. Now, let's check for understanding to make sure we're on the same page. Here's another example. Miss McGurk wants to see which liquid will dissolve a metal nail. She read that acids have special properties to dissolve certain materials. She changed the different liquids to a place in her nails in. She then saw how many days it took each liquid to dissolve the nails. She also placed the nail in water so that she could compare how fast the other liquids dissolved the nail. Think about what the independent variable would be, think about the dependent variable, and think about the control. Remember, the independent variable is usually something that is manipulated or changed. The dependent variable is the variable that is impacted by this independent variable or change. And then the control is the thing that is compared to. Now let's look at another example. Tierra wanted to see which color Gatorade gave the step team the most energy for their upcoming competition. She changed the different flavors of Gatorade to give each member. She then saw how many jumping jacks they could do during the beginning of their step practice. She gave one team member water to compare her results to. Can we identify the independent variable, the dependent variable, and the control? Remember, the independent variable changes. The dependent variable is what is impacted because of that change. And the control variable is the thing that is compared. That completes our presentation on control variables.